USA Basketball has been widely regarded to be the greatest ensemble of players the world has ever seen. Over the last few decades, ever since NBA players were allowed to represent Team USA, they've been the most dominant basketball team in the entire world. As of this video, they've participated in 18 different Olympics and won the gold medal 15 times. Unfortunately, their performance in the FIBA Cup has not been as successful. Even historically, they've only won the FIBA Championship 5 times since 1950. Obviously, it would be a different story if the best players actually participated, but that just wasn't the case. So just how bad were some of their performances throughout history? How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and in this video, we're going to take a look at the 5 worst performances by Team USA, whether it was during the FIBA World Cup or the Olympics. Alright, without further ado, let's begin. Number 5, the 1988 Olympics, Seoul, South Korea. This is the only one on the list where NBA players were not yet able to play in the Olympics, as only amateur players were allowed back then. It wouldn't be until 1992 when that rule was changed. However, the same cannot be said for other countries. While Team USA was only made up of college players, the Soviet Union was filled with a bunch of experienced veterans and professionals. This included guys like Arvydas Sabonis, one of the greatest European players ever, and in 1988 he played for the Soviet Union. Another guy there was Sarunas Marčiulionis, another European legend who led the team in scoring with over 18 points a game. Technically, both of these guys were born in Lithuania, but back then it was still part of the Soviet Union, so they played for them. In the semifinals, Team USA would lose to the Soviets, who would eventually win gold. USA finished in 3rd place, winning bronze. Their roster looked like this. It included many potential NBA prospects who would have some great careers, but they were still in college at the time. Guys like David Robinson, Danny Manning, Dan Marley, Mitch Richmond, and Hershey Hawkins would all become future NBA All-Stars. Anyway, in that semifinals game, the final score would be 82-76 in favor of the Soviets. Then in the bronze medal match, USA would crush Australia 78-49. In fact, most of Team USA's games were like this. They blew out a lot of teams on their way to the semis, including a 102-35 obliteration of Egypt. However, when they met the Soviets, it was a struggle, and it was clear that their players could not get by with sheer athleticism and speed. The Soviets had a ton of talented players who were prepared. They outplayed and outsmarted Team USA. Number 4, the 1998 FIBA World Cup, Athens, Greece. By 1998, Team USA was unquestionably the greatest team in the world. We saw the Dream Team in 1992 destroy their competition. Then we saw it again in 1996. Fun fact, the 1996 Olympic team had the most number of All-Stars across the roster, with 12. Literally every single player on that team was an All-Star that year. So, what the hell happened in 1998? There was some controversy. Because the NBA was in a lockout, there were some legal ramifications surrounding the NBA and FIBA. According to an article about this circumstance, it stated, "The players responded that the owners had plenty more to go around and, anticipating the July 1st lockout, wondered publicly whether 12 NBA stars ought to represent the US and help promote the league in the 1998 FIBA World Championship." The attorneys on one end of the speakerphone and the agents on the other kept daring each other to make a move. USA Basketball, the sport's American federation, was caught in the middle without a team. On June 16th, the federation said it couldn't wait for an answer any longer from the NBA players. In effect, the Dream Team was put on waivers. As a result, no NBA players were able to participate in the 1998 FIBA World Championship. This led Team USA to put together a mishmash of random college players and random American players who were playing overseas. Some were good, some were bad, and some you've never heard of before, as you can see from this roster. In fact, most of them you probably never heard of. There was Trajan Langdon, who played for Duke, and Brad Miller, who eventually had the most successful NBA career, but that's not saying very much. This ragtag group of guys made it to the semifinals but lost to Russia in a very close match, 66-64. Overall, their run was viewed very positively considering the lack of talent on the roster. They got farther than expected. Once again, they won the bronze medal match and got the bronze medal. For this specific team, it was a great accomplishment, but for USA Basketball in general, a bronze medal is nothing to be proud of. Number 3, the 2006 FIBA World Cup, Saitama, Japan. In 2006, USA Basketball saw a rise of new talent, new superstars. Guys like LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, Dwight Howard, Joe Johnson, they all stepped onto the scene. While they were just in their early to mid-20s, they were still thought of as the next generation of stars who would take over the NBA. Unfortunately, they weren't even able to take over Greece. Now, don't get me wrong, Greece was exceptionally strong at this time. Some Greek fans I talked to said that the mid-2000s were their strongest era of basketball. Despite breezing through the preliminaries and the first few rounds, Team USA's run would get stopped by Greece in the semifinals. The downfall of this team was mainly cited to be their lack of veteran presence. There were some older guys on the team, but none of which had any international experience. Greece would win 101-95, and they sported a very strong team, which included guys like Vasilis Spanoulis and Dimitris Diamantidis. In this game, Carmelo Anthony would lead all players in scoring with 25 points in the loss, and it would become the start of Melo's dominance on Team USA. Number 2, the 2004 Olympics, Athens, Greece. I'm sure everyone knows about the 2004 Olympics, probably the most disappointing loss in the history of USA basketball. Since it was in the Olympics, it was a much bigger deal than FIBA. The team lost multiple times in the exhibitions and preliminaries. In fact, the biggest loss in the history of Team USA came against Puerto Rico during the group stages. Puerto Rico destroyed them 93-72. Then USA lost another game in the group stage to Lithuania. Then finally, they would lose to Argentina in the semifinals, led by Manu Ginobili and Luis Scola. Team USA finished with a bronze medal, only the second time in history that the USA got bronze in the Olympics. It was a disaster from top to bottom, and the thing is, if you look at their roster, it doesn't look that bad on paper. It actually looks really good on paper. The team had 2 of the previous MVP winners, Tim Duncan and Allen Iverson. The coaching staff looked pretty damn good too, with Larry Brown as the head coach, and Greg Popovich as an assistant. The problem was similar to the 2006 FIBA World Cup I just mentioned. Their young stars were not yet ready for the big stage, although there was a lot going on behind the scenes too. Apparently, Coach Larry Brown did not like playing the rookies too many minutes, and gave most of the possessions to Iverson and Stephon Marbury. The relationship between the coaches and players were not good either. Right in the middle of the 2004 Olympics, Marbury said, "You know, Coach Brown isn't letting us play. He's trying to make us play the right way. He's not letting us play. We just need to play." And Larry Brown responded with, "I want him off the team. I want Stephon Marbury off the team. Now, put him on a plane and send him back home." With Iverson and Marbury chucking up shots and Tim Duncan struggling with foul trouble, Team USA collapsed. The aftermath of this loss was brutal. Basically, the entire USA basketball program got restructured. Larry Brown never coached another FIBA or Olympic team again. Now there was more focus on getting players who are not just individually talented, but could play in a more versatile system. And number 1, the 2019 FIBA World Cup, China. The other 4 teams on this list have one thing in common: they still won the bronze medal. It's not the ideal result since Team USA is expected to win gold every year, but now in the 2019 FIBA World Cup, the Boston Celtics, Team USA, didn't even make it to the top 3. They didn't even make it to the semifinals. They lost in the quarterfinals to France. Their best player, Kemba Walker, went 2 for 9 from the field and got outplayed by Frank Ntilikina. Rudy Gobert also dominated on both ends, scoring 21 points and grabbing 16 rebounds. After the loss, Team USA played Serbia for the chance to get 5th place, and they lost that one too. Then, fortunately, they beat Poland, so they ended up with a 7th place finish, by far the worst placing USA basketball has ever gotten. The story this time was centered around the ridiculous number of players who dropped out and simply did not want to participate. Take a look at this graph here. In terms of cumulative All-Star selections, the 2019 team had the fewest since 1992. And that's not counting 1998, which I mentioned earlier that NBA players were not allowed to play in. The aftermath of this terrible performance is still yet to be seen. In the future, we might see more stars join and help USA win the FIBA World Cup. It's always been a low priority compared to the Olympics, but maybe this loss will ignite a fire. Maybe more American players will regret not joining and watching their team suffer these humiliating losses. On the other hand, maybe this is just the general direction that USA basketball is going in. Most American players seem to not care much about FIBA. If that's the case, then we'll see Team USA lose more and more in the upcoming years. Anyway, that's all folks. That sums up the 5 worst performances by Team USA in the Olympics or in the World Cup. Let me know your thoughts on USA basketball in general. Why do you think American players and also Canadian players, why do you think they don't care as much about representing their countries compared to all of the European countries? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.